On the Six Screens Telenetwork, earning the reputation of giving all the right ingredients, uninhibited, in exposing the hard, cold facts about the Watchtower Society.
Well, hello everyone. My name's Rick Farron. I'm coming to you from the hub of the universe, right up here in Boston, Massachusetts, as we call it, the apostate capital of the world. And we have our first program of the weekend, touched by the tentacles of the Watchtower. Have you been touched by the tentacles? Have you felt the hard, bad effects of being one of Jehovah's Witnesses? Well, many of you listening to the program tonight have. I'm sure you all have a story to tell. Well, we have a woman named Anne Marie. She is out of California, and she has a program tonight that will really help you a lot to work your way through the trek that you have had in the Watchtower organization. Anne Marie's a kind lady. She'll take your questions, and she'll be glad to listen to your story. And she's going to be talking about a lot of things tonight that'll be so meaningful to you. So, anyways, I also wanted to mention that if you have friends or you never listened into the Six Screens, friends, this is where ex-Jehovah's Witnesses come to talk. And they come here every Saturday night for the last 20 years and every other Sunday right here on the Six Screens Telenetwork. So if you're new to it, thank you for listening in tonight and wanting to spend some time with us. And also, why don't you tell your friends about the Six Screens? If you have friends that are PMOs and they're PIMQs, as Anne-Marie loves to call them as well, what you can do is have them listen to the Six Screens and even call in if they have the courage to do so. So anyways, let's bring Anne-Marie on. Hello, Anne-Marie.
Hello, my brother, Rick. Happy Screen Saturday.
Wow, you sound really exciting tonight. Well, what you just do? Come back from dancing lessons or something?
No,
Wow, you sound really exciting. So we're looking forward, Anne-Marie, to coming. We're looking forward to you coming in. We got like I say, I'm looking at my computer screen here. I'm saying, what is going on? But I know what's going on. We got a storm. I mean, that's all we've been hearing about. They're talking about close to 200 million people are going to be affected by this 2,000-mile storm from Texas all the way up here to New England. We're going to get the brunt of it tomorrow. Right now, it's not doing much. It's just cold out right now. It's probably about 10 degrees. But tomorrow is going to really start snowing. We could get up with the 2 feet, they're saying. So we'll see what happens. Sometimes they scare you to death, Anne-Marie, and everyone's running to the store and buying stuff, and you can't even find some of the stuff. The shelves are clean, and people get very nervous when they get a big snowstorm coming in. But no snow out there in San Francisco, San Jose, right?
As far as I can say, I'm almost embarrassed to say it's a beautiful, sunny, slight breezy day. It's gorgeous.
Well, tell me, do they ever get snow out there in the Bay Area?
Yes, we've had snow in San Francisco, a lot of snow in Santa Cruz, believe it or not. We even had snow one time in Watsonville. Kids were playing and all of a sudden snow started falling. You just never know what's going to happen over here in California.
Well, you don't, that's for sure, Anne-Marie. Well, we're looking forward to your program. I'm going to let you take the program away. I'm here if you need me. So just say, Rick, where are you, buddy? All right.
Thank you, my brother. You're always so wonderful. I want to welcome everyone in the best day of the week, in my opinion, Big Screen Saturday. Today is January 24th, 2026. And guess what? We're all still here. Over 50 years after Armageddon was supposed to have come and gone. This is the first show of the weekend, touched by the tentacles of the Watchtower. And the theme for today's show is Watchtower's attitude towards sex. We don't normally discuss sex as an attitude of the Watchtower. Usually it's always something negative. They never mention the pedophiles except to say it's not true. So anyway, I just picked this theme just to see if anybody wants to talk about their experiences, because I've heard a lot of people say that they were approached, they were had things said to them that were inappropriate. You know, there are a lot of little things that I think a lot of you might want to share. So again, this is Touched by the Tentacles of the Watchtower. The Watchtower's attitude towards sex is the theme. And I want to welcome my beautiful Six Screen family. I love you all so, so much. And I want, of course, always welcome the pin cues. I want everybody to remember and think about the poor brothers and sisters still faithful in the Watchtower, trying so hard to be faithful and be a good Jehovah's Witness, but deep down they're troubled because though they're physically in the Watchtower trying to be faithful, mentally, many are questioning. And the questions they have, they know they can't really ask, or they will be looked at in an accusatory way. Are you become state? Are you looking at apostate sites? And of course, they're trained through their program that if you question the Watchtower, virtually Jehovah's voice, then you are letting Satan come into your brain. We want to welcome the Pimos as well, still physically in the Watchtower, but mentally they are out. Their eyes are open. They know the truth about the Watchtower. And even though they're struggling to stay in and put on a good theocratic face, they're trying to get their family out, trying to hopefully wake up the wife, the husband, the kids, the grandparents, so on. And of course, everyone else who is as blessed as I am, who have actually managed to become free of this very controlling cult. Would anyone like to say hello, share a thought, whatever? This is your show. Please feel free to hit *6 and say whatever. I'm listening.
Hello? Hello? Anne-Marie?
Who's this?
Hi, Anne-Marie. My name's Keith. I talked to you the first time I dared to call this show a long time ago.
Oh, hi, Keith.
Yeah, how are you?
I'm good. What's on your mind?
Well, I was thinking we could, maybe we should just try to figure out a way to, help the witnesses that are leaving and remember what it was like when we were just like them, kind of,
I understand.
I love this show because it allows people to kind of talk it out, and everyone that understands, and then it takes time to overcome your indoctrination and the trauma and all that, but I really feel like there's a lot of people that want to leave. There's a lot of Pimos, and they just need a safe place to land,
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I hear what you're saying, my brother, because one thing that we can all relate to is the feeling of being trapped, the feeling of just feeling like, is this really my life?
Right,
is this really what I was born for? Go ahead, my love.
Yeah, no, that's like when I realized that I'd been lied to and my life had basically been a lie, and I've been played and I've been deceived and I've been betrayed, and I've been taken advantage of, and all of it. It was a lot. It was quite a red pill, And
oh, you said it so well. How long have you been struggling with this, dear?
Well, it's been 6 years I've been out, but I don't know if you know some of the people that call in. There's Fran and Joe have a huge network, and then they hook you up with people to talk to when you're feeling down or whatever, and that's been a huge help for me. And
I'm so glad. They are wonderful.
They really are. They really are. So, yeah, and I just wanted to say thanks to Rick. I mean, I can't even imagine before we had the internet how he did his activism, because I used to go to he at not Natick. I'm trying to remember, but I think I saw him once, because when I was still indoctrinated, I used to go to the Mullen Center in Amherst, and he used to do used to do protests outside there. So, I mean, how long has Rick been doing it?
Rick is one of those real crazy people that's on fire, awesome for bringing out the truth about the truth. And I just feel the Lord's blessing on him. He's been doing this for a good 20 years. I don't know exactly how long he's been doing protesting, but he is on it. He is like the leader. He's been
such a blessing. Yeah, it's quite a blessing to everybody that tries to lead. I just want to say thanks to Rick, and I just wanted to say, I've been thinking a lot about, I used to be so angry, and now I'm feeling a little more compassion towards people because, when you're born and you just don't have a choice, you don't know any better, and you're brainwashed, and it's kind of like walking around with it, you don't know. I remember I was shunning people and treating people like that, so it's just good to remember that, people can change and people can wake up and all that, so.
For the born in, we don't have anything to go back to. So you're young enough. You're young enough that you can just start right from where you are.
Yeah.
I found the new book by Mel Robbins called "Let Them" to be very.
I love that book.
Very helpful to us
because
we weren't taught to have a boundary or to do me, and then versus let them. And so that, I'm glad you found that. And the one thing, the witnesses were right. Plumbers and electricians do make bank. And they won't. So I don't know what kind of job skills you have, but you sound young. You can be a parent at 42, like my cousin.
I'm a pianist.
Oh, that's not going to be outsourced. Go for it.
Yeah. But
you can have a life, and a lot of us, we don't have any offspring. You can do that. You can have a solid marriage outside of, Kingdom Hall, and just have some goals. Maybe have 2 or 3 income streams. Go for it.
That's right. I'm going to college. I'm trying to like build a life and just be happy,
Good, and try to live within your means, even if you get a bigger salary, still eat the college food, the little rice and bean thing, and you're going to be fine.
Thanks. That helps a lot, you guys. You guys are great.
It takes a long time. I just stopped having those Armageddon nightmares until recently.
Yeah, it's a PTSD thing, and you really do get anxiety, and it's a real thing. It's real symptoms. So.
And the other thing that helped me was an etiquette book, because I didn't know what to say to people.
Yeah, because you grow up in it and you think everybody's worldly, and they're not. They're not like they said. Our perception of them is not at all what I was taught. So it's social skills and everything. But it's good. All right, well, I'm gonna let everybody else get on. But thank you guys for all you're doing, and just want to say thanks. And Rick is just a gem, being able to get on this show and talk about things and being able to heal. But
be fabulous.
All right, you guys have a good one.
I'm so glad you called in, Rick, and and thanks to Pixie. She's always, building people up and giving great advice, because what you're dealing with, Keith, it is a struggle. It's a whirlwind of so many realizations, like you said, to realize you were manipulated, you were tricked, you had your mind molded before you could even have a chance to mold your own brain, because they get you from infancy. To realize that you were just used, abused, not cared about. It was all a lie. And it's so much to deal with. And it's like dealing with the stages of grief. There's anger, there's resentment, there's kind of like, I just can't believe this, or how could I fall for that, or this can't be real, or, maybe I'm reacting, and oh my goodness, we all go through it, but it's all different for each of us. And Keith, I really appreciate your coming in and sharing, and thank you as well, Pixie. Would anybody else like to comment? I would like to get to the theme of today's show, Watchtower's attitude towards sex, but this is your show. Feel free to please hit *6. Any comments comes into your mind, feel free to share. Anyone?
Hey, Anne-Marie.
No, what's your name? I'm going to ask everybody
It's
to
RJ.
say Hi, this is RJ. I like that name.
How are
What's
you
up,
doing
my
tonight?
brother RJ? What was that?
I love the topic tonight. Sigmund Freud would have a field day with
You know
his
he was.
examples here.
Yeah.
And yeah, like I gotta think of it like it's such a broad topic. I gotta like narrow it down, you know. But
Well,
the Watchtower view of sex is very narrow and stringent, and they go by the book, and then there's aspects of it that are outside the book, whereas human beings are human beings, and they have a limited social pool being a witness, and you got a lot of strange stuff happen, strange bedfellows, strange interactions, and we got our stories to tell.
well, RJ, since we're on the line, can you think of one little snippet?
Yeah, it didn't involve me, but I was probably 15 at the time. I was just starting to go into meetings, and I knew like my hall and then maybe the neighboring one too, but just a couple congregations outside of there, they had a ski trip up the northern part of the state, 3-4 hours away. And a lot of young brothers and sisters, they were older than me. They were probably, 17 to 19. And, I was younger than that. And I was just starting going back. But there was they got in trouble because they had an orgy at a ski lounge.
Sounds like fun to me. Oh, go ahead,
So
dear.
the most exciting thing that happened in my region, I just missed the cutoff point of.
Woohoo!
But, I think they all got in trouble for that, and it was its own little scandal, and they talked about it at is it the district convention? That's the smaller one, right? No, circuit.
Usually, yeah.
They had the special needs talk at the circuit assembly about it, and it was a complete shit show. But I guess they had their fun.
Well, hell, honey, if you're going to go die at Armageddon, you might as well make it worth your while. I mean, no matter how good you tried to be, you're always in trouble. I mean, when are we not in trouble?
Yeah. And I think like the witness environment, it just affects people in different ways. And you got a lot of nutcases in there and a lot of people that handle their stress. Some want to be extreme zealots, some let loose and they just keep it a secret, but you get all types in that environment.
Well, good gracious. I mean, how long can you keep yourself wound up that tight, trying so hard to be perfect when you're like I said, that sounds like fun. I mean, even in the world outside of the Watchtower, a lot of people feel so uncomfortable talking about something that is natural as breathing. And they get their sex education in locker rooms, whispering in corners. If they do talk about sex, it's to make fun of it and laugh. And, because everybody's uncomfortable. Well, shoot, you got that. And then you have the Watchtower. Well, hell, honey, if you were confused before, now you feel guilty and shame and everything else because, hello, you're normal. It's terrible.
And a lot of the elders, they got bad karma. I think I shared the story with, it was either Joe or Rick. I shared it a few weeks back, but I had a brother and he broke up like my double date or not, like it wasn't even a date really, but he, made us think about it when he was just, he was just butting into stuff that was none of his business. And then I think about
Go ahead.
It was nothing. It just, I'm like, oh, they're like that. Okay, I see how it is. But, think about somebody, like, because we leave the Watchtower and we realize we're human beings. And imagine, like, that brother, if he was like an actual living, breathing conscience. What if something happened to me where I was in an auto wreck, or, you know, family members of mine died or whatever, and, you know, or terrible illness? What if, like, being, you know, 17 or whatever and going on a date was my last time to have fun, you know? Like, would he feel good about himself that he ruined whatever, you know, like, my last good age of innocence? Like, it was none of his business.
Yeah.
And that happens to some witnesses too. Like, they don't have a good teenhood, and then they don't even make it to adulthood.
RJ, that is so true. Oh my God. What a horrible thing. I mean, puberty and trying to figure out who you are as a teenager and trying to grow up into an adult in the middle of that mess. Oh my goodness. No wonder they were all having secret lives.
And a lot of witnesses, they marry really young just so they can legally have sex. And,
yeah, now that it's okay.
And then there's, you know, like, there's no trying things on for size. There's no playing the field. There's no any of this. Like, they're kind of just forced into action, and they make the wrong choices.
Yep. And then they're in trouble again, no matter what. It's terrible.
And it would have been nice if they would have had, you know, because when you're, you know, a late teenager or whatever, you don't have to, you know, you don't have financial obligations. You don't have to worry about putting bread on the table. Hey, it would be nice not to have a problem other than having fun with your date.
Oh,
you know,
that's such a
marriage
point.
sex is different than a fling, you know. It's different than teenage love, you know. It's a different thing.
Yeah. It's like you're forced to buy a car without getting to try it out. And you only get stuck with that one car. And if you have problems, oh well.
Yeah. And then, you know, and the flip side of that is that there's people who get that are dating that have sex, and then they let it slip out and they get disfellowshipped.
It's just ugly all the way around. Is there anything you'd like to add, RJ?
Oh, no, I just wanted to call in and contribute.
Well, we appreciate that. And I hope you contribute, and feel free to contribute more if something else comes to your mind.
Yeah, if I can tie it to my own life, you know, like I decided to come back or be serious about being a witness when I was 15, and, you know, I was in, or almost 16, you know, and I was in 5 or 6 years. But if they had like sign the contract, you know, terms and conditions, like, well, you're going to be a late bloomer on all this stuff. It's going to take you longer to have sex than it normally would. It's going to take you longer than normal to have a healthy friendships with people and relationships, or start a relationship. Even when I was in, you know, you're beaten down ego-wise, where you can't even say, "Oh, I'm having a date." You know, this will be cool. You know, like, there's no like guarantees there. You know,
Right, absolutely.
because everybody's off in their own world, and they all have their own way of doing things. And if you're a young person, you can't really master that.
Right. You can't try out this or figure out that. You're not allowed to make mistakes.
Yeah, you know, like, looking back on it, I'd be like, well, you know, I could just, you know, meet people at school and then run into somebody at the pool hall or the bowling alley, and that's only a couple miles away, other than the hoops you got to go through to be a witness. Whereas you talk to somebody, it might, or somebody disapproves of it, the person you're interested in lives 40 minutes away, and all this other garbage. Or you got to sneak around because you can't have your date sanctioned. It's just ridiculous stuff.
It certainly is, RJ. So well said. Is there anything else you'd like to add to that, RJ?
Well, thanks for having me on, Anne-Marie. I hope you have a great show, and I'll be commenting.
Well, I hope you will be, and I thank you so
You
much.
there,
for
brother in the
joining.
back with the orange tie.
What was that about an orange tie?
No, they at the hall when they didn't know a brother's name, they would say, "You there, brother in the back with the striped jacket."
I've heard about
Oh.
these ski trips for years, RJ. I wish you and I had been invited to one.
Yeah, I didn't know the people at the time, and I was a bit too young, but almost got there. My
They
grandma, a few hours away, actually
well.
knew about that. She knew about that scandal before I did, so I was pretty out of the loop.
They must be pretty wealthy if they either have property at a ski resort or they are renting numbers of rooms that must take some cash to do that.
Oh, snowboarding equipment is expensive, probably even back then was over $1,000.
Really?
And then I imagine the rooms were shared, but, a couple $100 a night.
That's a lot.
I think it was a ski resort. It was at somebody's property.
Yeah. I had real good balance when I was a young person. I would have really enjoyed skiboarding, I'm sure. I think I would have been good at it.
Yeah. And there's an episode of Charlie's Angels where it's like a ski theme. And I'm like, no, nobody's snowboarding. And I looked it up. Well, snowboarding happened about 5 or 6 years. It happened around the mid 80s. So the early 80s and stuff, it was only skiing. Snowboarding took off after that.
I remember, and I was intrigued by it. Well, I'm sorry we didn't get invited to the big snowbird party and those people that go to those ski resorts, like going to Telluride or something, they have special, ski outfits and things too,
Yeah, that's getting into penthouse letter territory where it's being skied in. Hey, there's nothing to do.
Yeah.
Or being at the resort. Hey, what can we do? All these young people here alone.
We have the ski outfit, and we got the ski resort, and we got some cognac.
Oh, the elevator broke down, and we're stuck in here.
Fondue. Have some fondue and cognac,
Yeah.
Not a world I've ever, really been a part of, but I dream about it.
Sure.
It's going to be cold here until Tuesday, so.
Yeah, where I'm at, it was negative 12 out this morning.
Oh my, it's coming.
We're having a bit of a heat wave now. It's like 5 degrees now.
Wow. Well, you stay warm and toasty.
All right, Pixie.
Thank you, Pixie. Thank you, RJ. Would anybody else like to call in and share a thought before I get into the theme of today's show? Jehovah's Witnesses or Watchtower's attitude towards sex. Anyone want to share a thought? Feel free.
Hi, Anne Marie.
Hey.
It's Susan.
Hi, sister. How are you?
Hi. I kind of had something a little opposite of what RJ was saying. Sometimes they had different talks or different, even watchtowers that I thought were a little inappropriate, and they would just come out and say them, and you had very young people there, like my 2-year-olds, 5-year-olds, 7-year-olds. They would talk about masturbation and things like that, and I didn't appreciate it at all. I thought it was a little too much. It was inappropriate, and it was something that the parents should have talked to with their children instead of the watchtower coming out and blabbing it. I don't know if anyone else has the same feeling.
Yeah, as a lot of people have said, Watchtower has no sense of boundaries, and they do know how to be inappropriate. Because I don't think deep down they really care.
No, and my former husband, he used to have to give the talk on masturbation. And I just think it's an inappropriate subject to handle in the middle of the Kingdom Hall.
Unbelievable.
I don't know if anyone remembers those talks, but I do, and I just never thought it was appropriate.
I agree with you, Susan. I agree 100% with you. And I think it's a way to, it almost, if the minor is sitting in the audience, it's almost a way to demean and sexualize them because it's over their heads of understanding.
Or what if they have a problem with it and they've not told their parents and now they've got to deal with it rather than letting their parents, spend time.
Agree. It puts
and each child is different, and he needs to be talked to a certain way. And by, blabbing it out in the middle of the Kingdom Mall, these kids are probably, I don't know, I think when I was a teenager, it would affect me for a long time.
Yeah. I know that the Catholic Church, although they don't have birth control, which I think is a good thing in its place, for married people, they have like a 6-week course and a booklet that talks about everything from finances to sexuality. It's preparing their people for a married life. And it's,
at an appropriate time.
And it's the couple and a priest, and they have a lunch and they chat over this time period. And I think other religions, I know the Baptist bookstore had some wonderful material for dating couples and honest sexual material in Christian books. And so that's what these other flavors do. And I just agree with you that these young minors, we never had a Sunday school, and we're in there with adults with adult topics, and it was just kind of wrong.
Totally wrong.
And again, with the abuse issues that we discuss here that are legally crimes, maybe they're trying to tear the child down before the wicked take over. I don't know. I don't even have the words for it.
Well, they're a pretty twisted organization. Would anybody like to add anything to what's already been said?
Hello.
Feel free. Hello, who's this?
Hi, how are you?
What can we call you, brother?
You can call me Realist.
Realist?
Yes.
Like I'm a realist? I like that.
Yes.
What's in your mind?
Yeah.
What's on your mind?
I just wanted to add to that, like when I was growing up, when they would have the Watchtower articles describing, what pornea is, and and talking about certain sexual acts, me and my friends would laugh. It was just kind of entertaining to us because the elders at our hall would conduct that Watchtower would say some like ridiculous things. Like I have a vivid memory where they were talking about he talked about phone sex on the platform. He said, "How do you have sex through a phone?" So you're talking about an awkward topic in front of a group full of people, and it's from somebody who is not has no business talking about it. He doesn't know any of these things himself. It's not likely it's because of how sex is viewed in that organization. I'm sure I could probably say with confidence that the women in those marriages are not maybe getting their needs met. So then you have this man instructing the whole congregation about what to do and what not to do, and it's like the whole thing is just ridiculous.
Yeah, I was thinking of the word ridiculous, but they put a whole new, variation on the word ridiculous. That is so well put, what you just said. They don't know what the heck they're talking about. They're probably immature and talking to the congregation like there's some kind of authority, and oh my goodness. How did we deal with that? How did we deal with it?
Yeah, I don't. We didn't at the time didn't have a choice. You were just, you get locked in, and then you're listening to all these things, and then it just it's more based off of like what not to do, and you're gonna get in trouble, and it's not, and it ain't focused on that more anyway, and instead of like saying, hey, if this is a thing that you claim that God has designed for us to enjoy each other, then you should highlight those aspects more.
Wow, we wouldn't want to do that in the Watchtower. Make something good really be good. We got to make it dirty and unclean and sinful, shameful, make you feel guilty.
Yeah, but that's all I wanted to add, but I look forward to hearing the rest of the show.
Well, Realist, I'm very happy that you called in, and I want you to feel comfortable to pop in at any time and share what you would like to share if something else comes to your mind. Okay?
Okay, will do.
I want to thank you for calling in, Realist. Would anybody else like to comment before I get into what notes I have written regarding our subject today of Watchtower's attitude towards sex? Feel free. This is your show. Anybody feel like sharing? Okay, feel free to pop in at any time. I'm just going to go through my notes. One thing that we can all relate to is that the Watchtower has constantly used the control tools of fear, shame, and guilt. And it's also, these tools are used against Jehovah's Witnesses in regard to their normal sexual needs, feelings, and thoughts. In regard to sex, talking to the congregation, to the audience at an assembly, this is often referred to as unclean. Anything sexual as far as desires, thoughts, being attracted to another person. And that's traumatizing to so many Jehovah's Witnesses, especially the preteens and the teenagers, because they're so vulnerable. Many are made to feel ashamed of their normal sexual feelings. They're made to feel guilty if they masturbate, and they're made to feel more shame and even fear of displeasing Jehovah and maybe dying at Armageddon. I mean, they're just made to feel like they're just bad. It's a vicious cycle of shame, guilt, confusion over feelings that they have no real control over. The Watchtower only seems to mention sex in the contents of uncleanness, mostly making anyone not married squirm in their seat with shame, which is especially, again, traumatizing for the young ones. Why does Watchtower talk about sex and sexual feelings and desires as if sex is dirty or shameful? And why do Jehovah's Witnesses and especially the newlyweds so often feel unsure of themselves regarding having sex when it's now okay, after so many years of having it drummed into their head that being sexual is basically shameful? I mean, now it's okay, but for years and years, anything to do with sex or thoughts of sex and so on was shameful, unclean. Jehovah's not happy with you. So when Watchtower does address sex, it's usually in a negative, shameful, and dirty way. And yet it is a known fact that elders will treat a known child molester within the congregation with kindness and forgiveness, saying, oh, well, they are repentant. While a pretty young Jehovah's Witness woman who goes to the elders and confesses to having had sex is called a harlot, and she's shamed and she's condemned. young, pretty Jehovah's Witness woman may confess to the elders, and this is for shame, for shameful conduct, even though she was raped. And the victim of a child molester will often be blamed for being a victim. They'll be blamed for what the pedophile did to him or her. And that's been going on forever, as our dear Barbara Anderson has brought out. The Watchtower has, over the years, had a very twisted and unkind attitude toward their vulnerable and faithful followers, often condemning them and many times shaming them with public reproof, or even many times disfellowshipping them, especially the young, victimized Jehovah's Witness girl or young woman. The way Watchtower has traditionally talked about sex has generally been so negative, generating so much fear, shame, and guilt that many have suffered permanent psychological and emotional damage, ruining many marriages, because down deep, especially for many Jehovah's Witness women, sex feels dirty and wrong and shameful, especially if they happen to feel normal reactions such as experiencing an orgasm. It's like, oh no, I'm a harlot. Many Jehovah's Witness women actually have found that they just can't allow themselves to let go and have an orgasm because normal sex and enjoying sex is dirty, as they were taught from forever. And it's also supposed to be shameful, and it makes the young woman, Jehovah's Witness woman, feel like now she's a whore because she finds that she likes sex. We are created by God. We are a spiritual and sexual being. This is just what I believe. If you don't believe in God, that's, this is just my point of view. So why does Watchtower feel that it is somehow pleasing to God to shame and guilt their members regarding their own bodies just being the way God made them to be? I mean, older Jehovah's Witness women become so sexless. Especially at circuit conventions where they show a Jehovah's Witness woman who's maybe in her 40s. She's dressed so dumpy with those ugly short sleeve little cloth jackets, and you cannot see her as a person that actually has sex, much less is able to enjoy sex with her husband. She's become desexualized. And it's so sad because these older Jehovah's Witnesses who have become basically sexist, they are portrayed as somehow being more spiritual. I mean, that's just ew. I mean, it's just so wrong. And the pretty young one growing up and developing, they're made to feel guilty because maybe they have beautiful breasts or beautiful legs or a beautiful body, or they're very pretty. They're put down, they're talked about, they're gossiped about. Remember this one young sister, I think maybe she was like 22, very sweet, very pretty, very nice body. She had found the shade of lipstick that she really liked, and she felt it looked good on her. And she was at the meeting, and some brother went to the elders in the back of the hall and complained about her, that she was purposely trying to entice him into feeling sexually attracted to her. And that poor thing, after the meeting, got pulled into the back room and berated and questioned, why are you wearing that shade of lipstick? What is your purpose? What are you trying to do to the vulnerable, poor young brothers? It's just You're damned if you do, and you're damned if you don't. I mean, we should all walk around with sackcloth and ashes on our face so we don't offend anybody because we're beautiful. Not me, but you know, the pretty ones. Anybody have any thoughts at all? Any thoughts that come to your mind of things that you have seen or experienced while being in the Watchtower regarding sex and how they act with it?
What you've described is the 2,000-year-old phrase that sometimes is used, the patriarchy. And this is why I'd like to visit Salem, Massachusetts, not just to visit Boston someday to meet our friends there, but Salem talks about witch hunts. And women have once been singled out for that kind of verbal abuse. We are all of us, the good-looking ones and the ones that aren't. Every human being is an energetic being. And we are made of energy from the moment we take our first breath until we take our last breath. We are energetic beings. And it is wrong for a religion or a man in a pulpit to try to disturb that energy. It has its place in life. I'm a person that believes in marriages. I'm very supportive of that. But we are energetic beings, and we should not be shamed for that energy that we all possess. That's the end of my rant.
Well, you never rant, Pixie. You always really bring out such well thought out comments. They're so true. And I thank you for that. Anything else, my love?
That's it.
Well, hell, Pixie, I was sitting back waiting for more.
Anne Marie?
Yes, who's this?
This is Jesus calling from South Africa. How do you do?
Is this our Matthew?
This is the one. Yeah. Hopefully I'll
What's
be
your
able to
name?
contribute to creating
What's
trouble.
your name? What's your name?
Matthew Gray from South Africa, Cape Town.
Ooh, I just wanted to make sure I got your right name, my brother Matthew.
Yeah, well, it's good
What's
to
the
be with you.
name?
I thought your comment about shame was very, very important because, look, I was an elder for a couple of decades, and you know, you get to learn about people's intimacy whether you want to or not. And this thing about what you were saying about shame, it embeds in the body. It's not just the mind, and it isn't dramatic. And persons' bodies get so tense, they get so numb.
Yeah.
Pleasure pathways, and that's why people can intellectually reject the doctrine and still feel very dirty or anxious or unworthy or afraid of enjoyment. So what you're talking about is healing that requires reclaiming the body, not just changing thoughts, eh?
Oh, yes, yes. And sexual energy is part of our natural energy. And, you know, I feel like sexuality, the way God is, I mean, if somebody wants to put somebody down for being a teen, well, why don't you blame the Lord for that? Because we didn't create ourselves to be this way. We were created. And personally, I remember my mom said, how can you criticize what God himself has made or the way he did it?
Yeah. I think what it is, it's a woman who's comfortable in her body, who enjoys herself, who's able to express beauty and desire, is far less governable because, you know, woe betide you if you've got a strong autonomy, or if your bodily trust now weakens external authority. Joyful people are a lot harder to control.
Oh, Matthew, well said. Thank God. I'm so glad these are in the archives on YouTube. So your words will not be lost. They are so right on the money. Anything else you'd like to ask my brother?
Well, just a good opportunity to chat with you. You work very, very hard, so thank you, Anne-Marie.
Oh, bless your heart. I just enjoy you all so much. I always love every comment, and it's like a special gift, and I get to enjoy you all and listen to you, and I really appreciate the point you brought out. So don't be a stranger. I hope you stay with the rest of the show, and anything else pops into your mind, please share.
Hello, Anne Marie.
Yes.
It's Susan again.
Yay.
I wanted to mention something, and maybe the brothers can help me straighten me out if I'm wrong. But a lot of times in school, about the times that the schools start pushing sports is about the time that boys are starting to experience their desire for being with a girl. And I think that sometimes the sports, by allowing them to be in sports and using up all their energy, that's good. It uses that up, and then if they have questions, they can talk to their coach or other young men about what they're experiencing if they're not getting information at home. And but the sports kind of uses up some of the sexual tension that they might be feeling. But the Watchtower says, well, you can't join sports. You can't be in after-school activities. You can't do football, can't do basketball, baseball, anything. And I think that's a negative because they should be able to use up some of that energy. So maybe if I'm wrong, the brothers can correct me.
That's a beautiful
please.
You know, I'm going to piggyback on that from a kind of physical therapy point of view. The Catholic Church, for their young men and even their young priests, they had basketball leagues, and they encourage the physicality and energy of sport because they also have a celibate message. And this is what was intriguing to me about this recent Hollywood film about the Shakers last week that I noted. Although they had a celibate spiritual message, they were involved in dance and singing to put that energy toward the divine. With the witnesses, I think it leads to illness. I think it leads to mental problems. I think it leads maybe to arthritis or something in the body. I don't know. But you've got a lot of people that are supposed to be celibate until they're married, but they're not giving what the 1950s coach would call an outlet. So with no healthy outlet for that energy, it's really, really not healthy.
So I don't know if the brothers can, if what Pixie and I are saying are correct, maybe they can correct us, but that's kind of how I imagine these things to be partaken of.
Sure.
No, I think you guys are both right on the money. I mean, you know, testosterone is thrown out there, and, you know, you do need that outlet, you know, the running and the punching and, you know, being a guy, and even for the young women, you know, you need an outlet. And basically, Watchtower puts a stopper on every outlet that is available, and yet you're supposed to not do this, not do that, and there's no way to direct your energy.
Anne-Marie, can I support Susan and her point?
Of course. What's your name? Is this?
This is Matthew again.
Oh, Matthew, I always want to be sure I get your name. Go ahead, please. What's your thought, mine?
So I think you've summed it up pretty well, because control starts with the body. It's not just belief. And again, we see in high control systems or religions, they don't just begin by controlling what you think. They begin by controlling how your body naturally moves, or how it naturally releases energy and self-regulates. So sports, or dance for that matter, or physical mastery, even playtime. You know, it does a few dangerous things from an authority's point of view. It builds confidence or embodied confidence. It teaches self-trust. And I think Susan was making the connection towards regulating stress and sexual energy internally, right? But if you're creating peer bond outside of your authority system or outside of your authority oversight, and you're getting a joy response, if you're producing joy, well, that's not mediated by the doctrine. So a body that knows how to discharge tension, or what you would say is essential life lessons, like Pixie has been alluding to, well, it doesn't need authority. And the whole thing is about producing an artificial authority structure. That's the power.
Wow, that is such a good thought. You know, it's like what Susan said, Pixie said, and you really rounded it out. It's all about control, not having an outlet, not being allowed to be normal or to explore. And what Susan said about, you know, you could talk to your coach, and usually there's an assistant coach or maybe just a more mature person on your team, or you get to know other kids' parents. You know, it's nice to have people that you can talk to without being looked at like you're some kind of idiot or moron or a dirty person, you know, just to be able to do that. But, you know, like you guys brought out, Watchtower takes that all away from us.
Thanks for that, Anne Marie.
Oh, thank you, my brother Matthew. Would anybody like to share a thought, comment on what's already been said? How do you feel about the Watchtower's attitude towards sex? Do you think they're healthy? Do you think that they're constrictive, that they're twisted, that they don't allow for any kind of outlet? I mean, anybody want to share a feeling about how it was for them, how it was for you in the Watchtower? I just remember women getting picked on for just having large breasts, even though they tried to have their wardrobe all around hiding as much as they could. Oh, you're just sticking them out too far. What are you trying to do? Oh, they're bouncing, or you need to cover up more. Go ahead.
I had a skinny ballet body. I didn't have cleavage, and they were still telling me that my neckline was too low. Now that's ridiculous. That's how far their control tried to go.
And that's what you get for being beautiful and having a dancer's body. Because if you're a dancer, you move gracefully, and obviously you were noticed, and they admired you and were attracted toward you. So that means you're a bad person because you're inciting feelings that they're not supposed to have. So that must make you a bad person, not Dixie.
Yeah, I guess so. And then like my skirt was too long because I had a ballet length, like a 1950s style skirt. You know, the little tiny waist with the mid-calf skirt and a heel. You know the look.
I do.
And they told me in my little skinny body that my skirt was too long. So they would find anything to pick on a woman. I think if the governing body could pass a law with a shadar, they would. I genuinely believe that.
My God, they are so beyond twisted. They really, really are. And I'm so sorry you went through that.
And that's happy. It's a narcissistic, really, really wicked thing where they're never congratulating their members. And, you know, if we were in another culture, you know, the rabbi would be saying, oh, our beautiful, pure girls, they're so good in their modest apparel. Or, you know, this is a good Catholic girl. She's been through school. Our women and our men are so brilliant in their universities. Or our Baptist college has really made some nice young people. We got none of that.
Oh, Pixie, isn't that the truth? I know they never, ever said anything positive about us as a group or individually. You know, wow, sister, you know, you really do a good job, or you're so great with people, or you're so helpful or supportive or friendly or loving. Nothing in the form of a compliment.
No, if you're going to have a controlling, strict religion, there are several out there, but they really, really can shine up some young people. But that's not what the result is with the witnesses. The result is a bunch of people that are tied into some real energy knots, and they don't have higher education, and they've got lots of alcoholism and you know, issues of anorexia and issues. They got lots of issues. And,
no doubt.
And if you've got a governing body with that kind of power, what that could be for human potential to shine up some young people and encourage them and have programs for them. Now, they got good, you know, how to build a building. That's good, but you know, and we knew how to dress for business, and we knew how to give a business talk, but there's more to life than that. I don't think a lot of the recent marriages, they married too young, and it makes me sad because some of them get happy and some of them get, you know, happy lives, but a lot of them don't.
Well, like what's been brought out, you know, there's no real preparation. There's no one-on-one, you know, helping you to kind of, you know what's ahead or how to deal with adult issues or marriage issues or sexual issues. It's just nothing unless it's negative, and now you're supposed to have this nice, great marriage and don't make us look bad. And they're just like left with not knowing really what to do.
Well, this is why they say the public library saved my life. I genuinely believe that. Because I could get my questions answered in a factual way about everything. And they just put that library up in my neighborhood a few doors from my home when I was a teenager, and it really saved my life.
I'm so glad you have that. Yeah, the library is a real safe place where you can just, you know, look up anything. And even though now we have computers, it's still kind of nice to have help and to find a book that was written by somebody who had a brain, that wasn't judgmental, and you can read it when you want.
The librarians were super helpful. And now that we have computers in our home, we can ask questions about etiquette or sexuality or marriage or relationships, or get a summary of Mel Robbins' book for zero cost. I did that, you know, last week. So I really encourage the listeners to try to shine yourself up to be the best person you can be for you, not for some other organization using your energy, but for you to use your dynamic life force and the days of your life for you.
Oh, hon, that is so well said. I'm so glad you said it. God, aren't you grateful that everything that we say will be saved in the archives or on YouTube, and the word will be out there, and everything that you guys say will help others, if not today, down the road.
Well, I hope I've helped someone.
Oh, Pixie, you know you do, my love. You always bring out great points. Everybody from their point of view, it's like a smorgasbord of great comments and great insight that really, really makes the show. That's why you callers, my Six Screens family, you guys make the show. You all are so important.
Hello?
Hi, who's this?
Hey, it's Realist again.
Oh, hi, Realist. What's on your mind?
Hey, I just had another memory. I'll be brief because I think I heard somebody else on the line. So like when I was growing up, you know, you always hear at the meetings the contrast, you know, the world versus us. So
right.
A lot of the things they will say is like, even when it came to marriage, they'll say, look at you know, in the world, their marriages end in divorce a lot of the time, 50% of the time. In the truth, it's not like that. And without context, that sounds like good, but for one thing, with the background, right? Like there was a time where women women had to like get married as a means just to survive, period, because they needed to have it was more of a survival tactic than like a loving thing. And so when that was available to them, that they could like make their own money and have their own property and resources, then they didn't want these men. They were able to decide who they wanted to be with. So that was without context. And then the other thing is that in the organization, you're not able to divorce unless unless somebody commits adultery. So a person could be in a terrible marriage for decades and they're getting praised because like, oh, you've been married for this long. Meanwhile, they do not want to be together, but they just have to be together because there's no means in the organization for them to break free. And so I grew up just thinking that, like I'm sure everybody else that's listening has that, marriages are in the organization were nice. They're always nice, and they were like, in a way perfect marriages, until I grew up a little bit and I started hanging out with other people in the organization, and I heard the first time in my life I heard the word divorce, and I remember like the shock in my mind about just hearing about a divorce, because the idea of a divorce didn't compute with me at the time. And then you just grow up and then you just realize that a lot of these marriages are not, what they have been made to be. And it really just shows you that it's all about a image for a great portion of it is just about image, just to look like you're happy, to look like you're doing the right thing. And that type of control, especially sexually, when it comes to sexual matters, it actually has the opposite effect, that people end up being prone to living more secret lives than they do than being, just to perpetuate that image. They end up living these double lives that the organization says to avoid, but you end up doing that anyway, because these things you feel you're just trying to survive. You want to enjoy life. You want to do all these things, but you have this image to maintain. So then you end up being secretive, and then end up thinking that, and so it really promotes a culture that's really deceptive, and you can't really trust one another because everybody is doing something they quote unquote are not supposed to do. So then there's like, you're not really friends with these individuals at the end of the day. So that control really has a negative effect.
Oh, no doubt. And you brought up something that really got me thinking. You feel almost like you have no choice to be able to have sex without, being in trouble with the partner. So you feel desperate to get married, and then you're miserable and you're desperate to find a way to get out. And the double lives and all about the image, that you have for the Watchtower, because the Watchtower is all about, make sure you always do the Watchtower two-step and have that theocratic smile and don't bring reproach upon the organization, aka Jehovah. I've heard of so many that purposely had sex outside their marriage just to have a quote unquote legal reason to get a divorce. I remember one brother was so desperate to get away from his wife who couldn't stand him, never wanted to have sex. He was so desperate, so miserable and desperate to get away that he went to the elders and confessed to having an affair, which he never did. But he didn't see any other way out. It's like you said, for survival, you have to find a way to mentally and emotionally survive. And it's a shame because this is supposed to be Jehovah's organization. Jehovah's Witnesses have been told from the get-go that they're the happiest people on the earth. It's just lies, and pressure and feeling trapped and emotional manipulation and drama and control. What a mess this organization is. I loved what you said, Realist. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Yeah, I just one more thing that's really it, like what you brought out, all those problems that are a result of the control. But the sad thing about it is that people are not aware of it. They just, they feel they don't feel the best. They have these health problems, but they don't understand that the organization could be contributing to those problems. And there's no way, because they rely on the information from them, though, they don't get an understanding of what they're going through, because the organization is just going to say, oh, you're going through a trial, or these are the last days, or imperfection, and all these very general things, but they won't, you don't really get any like real peace until you like wake up from the religion.
Realist, I don't think anyone could have said it better. You are so right. It's never the Watchtower. The problem is always with you. And that just adds to the strain and the stress and the trauma that you're trying to cope with. No wonder so many of the Watchtowerites are on drugs. Pills for anxiety is the number one. A lot of them are on, things to help make them not feel so stressed and moody. And, they're on these, I forgot the drugs, one that starts with a P. A lot of people got put on something that makes you not feel so up. What is it, dear? Prozac. My husband reminded me. A lot of witnesses are on drugs like Prozac, anxiety medication, Valium, pills to help them sleep, pills to help them keep going. I know a lot of sisters in my old congregation were all on diet pills because they had to keep going. They had to be the perfect smiling wife, perfect housekeeper, perfect cook, perfect, always getting in their time. Their children had to be perfect, and then they couldn't sleep, so they had sleeping pills. But I didn't know anybody who wasn't on drugs, and that's not counting all the alcohol, just to what you said, Realist, to survive. Being in the truth and being the happiest people on earth should not be something that you need narcotics to survive. You shouldn't need alcohol to survive.
I've never needed any of that. I like good nutrition and some coffee, maybe. Some people think that's a drug. Water's good, tea is good. But I had Pioneer sisters come to my house here, and they all confessed and confided that, as you have said, they were on some sort of anti-anxiety med.
Oh, yeah.
And I think you're on the West Coast and I'm on the East Coast, so factor it in.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. I need to ask our dear brother Rick how we're doing on time. My brother Rick, are you there?
I'm right here, Anne-Marie. In fact, go to 8 o'clock if you would. That's fine. We got a lot of people coming in tonight, and it's really good. I'm looking at a computer screen here, but a lot of people calling in from pretty much all over the world, Anne-Marie. So Yeah, so we can take some more calls when you're ready, and also I got some stories to share as well.
Well, I would love to hear them, Brother Rick. Could you tell me in the sense of minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, that helps me.
I'd say about 35, 40 minutes.
Holy turkey brains, that much?
Well, what it is we've extended your program. I probably didn't tell you, but you can go till 8 o'clock, from 6 till 8. Because remember now, out in the West Coast right now, we're 3 hours behind. So, it's giving people. I see more and more people coming in now from the West Coast, so we'll give them a chance to get in here. So yeah, let's go till 8 o'clock, and we'll be able to.
Okay, so when you say 8 o'clock over here, it's like only 4:15, 4:20.
Well,
So,
no, wait.
okay.
Well, 8 o'clock in Eastern time will be 5 o'clock in California.
Okay. It just helps them when I know 10 minutes, 3 minutes, whatever.
All right, yes. So
If I go over and shut me up. But I want to hear your stories too, my brother.
well, when you first started talking about sex in the Watchtower, we've been doing the program here for 20 years, and the subject of sex has come up quite a bit. But a lot of the discussion on sex on the six screens has been, well, a man called in earlier tonight. He talked about a bunch of witnesses going to a ski resort and kind of having sex with each other. It's not uncommon that happens. Unless people are calling into my program and giving me a bunch of baloney, but I don't believe so. I believe they're telling the truth. But of all of the different sexual related incidents that I've heard in the Watchtower, it goes to a woman they used to call in regularly. Jacqueline Fowler was her name, and she lived out in Indiana in the Midwest. And we were all shocked one night when Jacqueline Fowler came on, and she knew an awful lot. She knew a lot of the mucky mucks, a lot of the circuit overseers. She knew a lot of people high up in the Watchtower out in the Midwest. And she told a story here one night that nobody could believe. But now that the dust is settling, I can really believe that Jacqueline was, of course, telling us the honest to God truth. And what she was saying, Anne Marie, is out in Ohio. There were 20 brothers and sisters. They were pioneers. I believe it was 20 that she mentioned. And what they were doing is they were going out pioneering together. And, when you're a pioneer, you don't have much money. You get tires to buy for your car, gas. The Watchtower doesn't help you at all. So what Jacqueline said is these pioneers, what they would do is they go out in the morning in the service, pioneering. And then in the afternoon, they go back to one of the houses of one of the pioneers, and they would all involve themselves in pornographic movies, Anne Marie. Now that sounds pretty.
Yeah, I figured about that.
Now that sounds pretty bizarre. It really, really does. But we've had numerous people come on here and say, "What happens in the Watchtower because it's such a taboo, such a prudish feeling on sex and what have you, that it drives some people to the point of having illicit relations, promiscuous relations." So consequently, Jacqueline finished the story by saying that, this went on for a while, and then somebody, let the elders be aware of what happened. Of course, the circuit overseer came and really put an end to it. But, if you can really imagine, what do you think, Anne Marie? What do you think was the excuse that these pioneers gave to the circuit overseer and why they engaged in pornographic films? What do you think the excuse was? Take a shot at it?
I think the excuse was they had to make money, and the only way that they could see so they could actually make money.
Oh, that's exactly right. It's really not a defense. You couldn't go into the judicial committee and say, "Well, I'm sorry, brothers, but I had to do it because my tires were bald on my car. I had no other way to make money." Really, there's no excuse for doing that. I have to agree with you on that, Anne Marie. But I'll tell you, we've had numerous people come on here. In fact, you've heard Dan Clark. We all love Dan Clark, and he's very outspoken when it comes to sex and sexual suppression. Right? He talks about that quite a bit here on the six screens, and some of these people that have been in the Watchtower have really gone over the deep end when it comes to sexual activity, and some have been very vocal about it as well. But I'm not going to blame the Watchtower. In fact, I have to tell you, in all sincerity and straightforwardness, there's many things that you go back, you pick up crumbs on the trail, and you say, was the Watchtower ever really a help to me? And I have to tell you that in many respects, I mean, I never smoked cigarettes. I mean, that was a good thing. I knew that it was bad. The Watchtower taught that. And I never really engaged in promiscuous activity sexually either when I was a young man. I just did not do that. Now, whether it was totally because of the Watchtower, I'm not sure. But there are many that will come on here and tell you that the Watchtower actually, because of their position on sex, actually backfired. It made it worse, Anne-Marie.
Oh, no doubt. I remember hearing about a group of very lovely young sisters who were all pioneering. And as you said, they have to make money. They have to support themselves. They had to get in their time, and they were doing their pioneering and getting in their time. But at night, they were working at a strip club because they thought, well, we're not being prostitutes. We're not, doing anything else. We're not having sex. But they had to make money. And when you're young in the Watchtower, a lot of the sisters that are young are very beautiful, and they're just beautiful. So, I could see why they were, accepted into the strip clubs, because they weren't raunchy, they had class, but they felt that they didn't really have a choice. I mean, Watchtower is so stringent and so rigid, and it's like you have to figure out a way to do what they want you to do, but you have to survive.
Well, that's why, Anne-Marie, I'll tell you, it's all coming out in the wash right now. We talk about it every week here in the Six Screens. The Watchtower, as you know, and all of our listeners know, is completely falling apart. They are on life support. Everyone now knows of the position the Watchtower is in. Now, everyone didn't know this a few years back, but with all the news articles, all the newspaper articles, and television programs about the witnesses, that the world is finding out how cunning and how shrewd the Watchtower organization is. And they really don't have anywhere to go. Where are they going to go? How is an organization in this much doo-doo, so to speak, how are they going to be able to come back to being a legitimate organization ever again? It's not going to happen.
No, I agree with you. How can they? I mean, it's all while they try to keep up this portrayal of, oh, we're so spiritual, we go by the Bible, we're so clean. They're such liars.
Well, I'll tell you, in fact, Anne-Marie, on the news tonight, and I'll cut you loose here again, but on the news tonight, I'm going to show you guys an AI video that we just produced this week, and how realistic and how great it will be to help people realize how scandalous the Watchtower is. And it has to do with assemblies and conventions, and how the brother would always come out, before the convention was over, and say that, brothers and sisters, we really appreciate you coming here and volunteering to work and all of that. But we have to say that we are reporting a deficit. Why is it the Watchtower always reported that deficit? Well, we had an AI video tonight that we'll be playing for the first time. So I want these people listening in tonight to stay with us, Anne-Marie.
Oh, I really appreciate that, and I'm looking forward to it. And if you don't mind, yes, who's this?
This is Stephen. I just wanted to break in very quickly to what Brother Farron just mentioned. I talked about this just a couple weeks ago, just as I was starting to wake up. And I went to my last, circuit assembly. And the same brother that always would get up there and do the financials, he got up there, and it was almost like a production. And I was just kind of looking around, because once I started waking up, I started paying more attention both to what they were saying, but then I would also look around at the other witnesses just to gauge their reaction to whatever was coming across the platform. So in any event, when this brother, just like Brother Farron just mentioned, when this brother got up there and he said, the way he said we have a deficit, it wasn't a way that you would read a financial report. The report is either going to say you've got enough money to make ends meet or you don't, This was a whole production. And everybody just laughed and giggled, and he stood there with a half smile and with his head down, and just like they were so ashamed that they've got to come and let you know that there's a deficit. And everybody just laughed, and it was just so obvious to me that this is just a con game. And I'm sure Brother Fair is going to get into that, so I won't go any further than that. But it's so true what he just said, because I noticed that. If we had an assembly hall that we built, we being witnesses, built from the ground up, it was paid for many times over. So how do you have a deficit? All you have is utilities. I'm not sure they even had to pay a tax of any kind. All you have are utilities for when the thing is in use for the most part. And we did have a person that lived on site. So how do you have a deficit? That's thousands and thousands of dollars for just this one lousy 3-day assembly. So it was just such a con. So I can't wait to hear what Brother Farron is going to say. And then the other thing I just wanted to mention quickly, you let me know if I'm getting off track or taking too long. I was thinking about what you said. It's kind of funny. I don't know if I feel like I'm getting older in life. Maybe I'm more nostalgic, but I find myself kind of thinking about, my youth as I come up, and of course I can't separate it from being a Jehovah's Witness. And I think about the awkwardness that I felt. I went to my first witness gathering, as a teen, because my dad was disfellowshipped just a couple of years after being a witness. He left, wanted no parts of it. Never asked him why. And I would never get invited to any kind of social events because back in those days, they viewed the entire family as disfellowship, not just the disfellowship person, even though my mother, my adoptive mother, was a full-time regular pioneer. I still never got invited to anything. She never got invited to anything. So this was the first party or gathering that I was ever invited to. No idea what was going to go on. I didn't know what it was going to be like. And I went, and it was the most awkward. The last thing that it was fun. It was, I think I would have rather gotten a root canal or something than this gathering. And it was just so obvious that nobody knew what to do. So all the boys kind of standing on one side of the room, the girls were standing on the other side of the room, and the looks that the parents were giving was like, you better not even think about going over there to where my daughter was. And then they would play this music, and Watchtower used to rail back in those days, and they would always use the term, and I'm sure you're familiar with it, but they would always use the term debased music. So your music, the music that they were playing for us was actually music that would have been for an older person. So even the music was something that was just quite bizarre. And then they even, of course, worked in the Kingdom melodies, which I just absolutely hated, still do. And this was the gathering, and it was just the most socially awkward thing that I had ever gone to, and that really just kind of set the theme for a lot of the gatherings that I went to. It was just so disconnected from any kind of reality, and so the net result is that I was just really, and I'm not blaming Watchtower for all of it. I'm just giving my personal experience. I was just a really awkward, person, and even as I got older, because we were not allowed to really just sort of interact with girls, we didn't really know how to talk to them. They didn't know how to talk to us. It was just this comedy of errors, and all of it, ties back to Watchtower. And the only saving grace that I had was that I had uncles that, of course, weren't witnesses, and so they would teach me things just that men should be teaching other men. I would learn those things from my dad as well, but especially from my uncles, And that's kind of what saved me and saved my keister all throughout life was the non-witnesses that I had around me. But I think that being a witness was just the absolute worst thing that I ever had to deal with. There's not one single solitary thing that I can say was a saving grace that I learned from the witnesses. And I know other people will say that's not true. The witnesses, they taught me how to dress, or they taught me how to, how to speak, or I was able to get off drugs and all that. Well, there's tons of people in the world that never get on drugs in the first place. There's tons of people in the world that don't live in drug-infested areas. There's tons of people that know how to speak and dress and all the rest of it. So that's not solely what it's all about. So from my perspective, and when I look back on my life, and for some reason lately I've just been spending a lot of time thinking about, my youth, my upbringing, and I've never once felt that if I had to do it all over again, I would continue to be a witness. If I had to do it all over again, I would have never gotten baptized, never applied myself into that. I would have done exactly the opposite. I would have done everything Watchtower told you not to do, which was go to school, get your education, work up the corporate ladder, make as much money as you can without compromising your integrity, marry a person that you are attracted to and you're compatible with, and everything and have as many kids as you can afford. And everything that Watchtower said, I would have done the opposite without, doing stupid stuff that would have hurt myself. And that's how I feel about it. And it was something funny. Somebody mentioned, I think it was Matthew. We're talking about the marriages, and I've said this before. I'm going to just say it again. If you think that the counsel from Watchtower is so great, listen to this. And I knew a ton of teenagers coming up. Every teenager that I knew that got married under the age of, say, 25, including myself, which is a ton of teenagers, every single one is unmarried, or not unmarried, divorced from that person. Some remarried, others did not, others are on their third marriage. So if this counsel from Watchtower and them making you the type of person that they wanted you to be was so great, you wouldn't have had all those failed marriages. But that's the reality of it, and I continue to think that's probably how it is all the way up to this day. So when you say, how did you benefit from being a Jehovah's Witness? In my opinion, we didn't. I think it stunted a lot of us. For those of us in the Black and Brown and African community that should have been really going out and going to college and applying ourselves and trying to build generational wealth, we threw all of that away and just assisted Watchtower in making billions of dollars, and then we don't have anything for ourselves. So it really, in a lot of ways, set us back. Thank you, Emery.
Thank you so much for bringing that down. And, it's true what you said. Yeah, there might be some benefits, here and there of being in a Watchtower, but none of those benefits, no matter what they were, could never negate the awkwardness, the stunting of our emotional and mental growth, the lack of understanding or knowing or learning social mores. I mean, the awkwardness, like you said, and the disconnection from reality. And that was so well put. Disconnection from reality. That is terrible they did to us. And I think we still suffer from that.
Hey, Anne-Marie, do you want to know about the assembly and the, the deficits? Because my brother Jesse and I, we both served as account servants in the congregation and the circuit.
And what's your name, just to be sure, what's your name?
Well, before I became GG for GB, I was in charge of the money, so it's Gilbert. So it's just real simple how it worked. It was real simple how the deficits worked. Okay. They never lied to you. So let's just use an easy number so you'd understand. Let's say that it cost $5,000 to rent the hall. Let's just use that as an easy number. So when you actually open up the doors to the assembly, you are in a deficit of $5,000. So at the end of the day, let's say you received $1,000 or $1,500 in donation, you are at a deficit because you had to shell out all of the money to put in. But every Jehovah's Witness who's ever worked in accounts knows that the last day, Sunday, is the day where the majority of the money comes in. So at the end of the last assembly day, you would have $10,000 that came in, so you have a $5,000 surplus. And then the elders would have meetings, and then the elders would send that surplus over to Watchtower, and the rest of the money would be allegedly on Watchtower account, like if we actually had an account with them. So that was never stated to the brothers, that every assembly, for the most part, has a surplus. But that surplus doesn't come till Sunday at 5, and everybody's already gone home, and they don't know that there was a surplus. So the following assembly, you do this, you rinse, wash, and you repeat like toothpaste, right? You do the same thing over and over again. You invest $5,000 into the assembly hall, and you really are at a deficit. You're not lying to the people. It's just you are omitting all of the facts that you have surpluses. For the last 10, 20 years, your circuit has always had $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 surpluses. But those records are never shown to the public. They're only telling you the half truth, that they are in a deficit from the get-go. But they never tell you they're at a surplus, and they gave the rest of the money to Watchtower. I hope those numbers made sense, so you can understand how Watchtower can say, we're not lying. Well, of course you're not lying. You're just not telling me half the truth.
Exactly. And I've always heard that, and I never realized that this was true, that the circuit assemblies and now what they call the regional conventions are basically money-making scams. And what they do is they figure ahead of time how many people are going to be there, and they figure by head count how much they can expect for each person to contribute. So you walk in the first day and there's a deficit because they make their money. It is a money-making endeavor. And no matter how much money they bring in, they still say we have a deficit because Watchtower expects to be able to benefit a certain amount of money at least. So no matter how much money is contributed, basically Watchtower wants them cut, and then they say they need more money. And you have the ATM machines, the automatic contributing set up with your bank, and it's all about the money. Would you like to add more to that?
There's nothing wrong with somebody making money. The problem is not that a religion makes money. The problem is the transparency, that you're saying one thing, but you're not being transparent about the whole operation. There's nothing wrong in collecting money from the people that go to the hotels that are assigned by Watchtower, because they get one free hotel for every 10 hotels, and that hotel is used for the circuit district overseers. There's nothing wrong with all of these things because they're common business practices that happen everywhere. What's wrong is when Watchtower omits everything and keeps you just thinking that they're in need. But see, this is the thing about the money and with the credit cards with Watchtower. What a lot of you guys don't understand is that every single one of your credit cards has a lot of information on you, like you're white, you're black, you're Mexican, you're American, you're you're British, and so forth. It also tells you, they also know what age you are. So it has a demographic thing. So when Watchtower, they know that the Spanish population gives less donations than an English population in America for donations. So if I were making a convention in Watchtower, I would be okay with having a 4,000 or 5,000 seat location if it was white elderly people with a certain demographics on a credit card that are going to show up, because I would know via the credit card information and the demographics and the history how much money I can expect. However, I would never rent a space where 5,000 Mexican-American Jehovah's Witnesses are going to go to a convention, because I'm a Mexican-American Jehovah's Witness who works the congregation accounts, and I know that we won't have enough money to pay the bill. So then you go, I would have 20,000. I would rent a 30,000 location, and that would create more hype, and the money would come in. So the reason also Watchtower wants you to donate with your credit card is because your credit card information also gives a lot of information about your demographic, your income, and what you purchase. And that information is used so that way they can say, well, let's put the assembly over here. Let's rent this location. Let's rent that location. If there's too many people from foreign lands, like say people from Africa or people from other places, if you're not going to get the donation. So you need to make sure you put it in an area where older white people are going to go. Why? Because again, you need the donations. So you have to actually have worked in the account service department to understand. Not what I'm saying is this is not bad, and I'm not defending Watchtower. All these things are not bad because it's standard operating procedure in all businesses. What's bad is the omission. That Watchtower wants to pretend to be victim, oh, poor me, but they're hiding all of the other information from you. Again, it's kind of like telling your wife and your girlfriend how poor you are, but you have a whole bunch of property in Mexico. You have businesses, you have gold and cash everywhere hidden, but you pretend to be poor with your wife or your girlfriend. You see, that's what Watchtower's doing. You know,
that's a great
everything.
analogy. Yeah.
Not that I would ever do that.
Of course not, Gilbert. We would never think that. But, you know, it's the way they present what they present and how they omit. And you can just see them calculating and running the numbers and figuring out ways that they could bring in the most dollars. It's all about the money.
Okay, so I hope you guys took notes, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Okay.
Thank you so much, Gilbert. Would anybody like to comment on what Gilbert said, or anyone else, your own thoughts? Feel free. Star 6, it's your show. We have plenty of time, my dears. We have about maybe 12 minutes to go. Any thoughts, any memories about the money? I remember every single assembly of my life. Oh, brothers, wasn't it a wonderful feast? Aren't we blessed? What abundance of spiritual food we enjoyed. And however, we do live in the world and things still do cost money. And, you know, we have a bit of a deficit. So if you could, you know, find it in your heart, or if you have an extra $5 or $10 or $20. And as one sister who, I think she was the wife of the circuit overseer, she called into the 6 Screens a few years back, and she said she was one of the counters at the large district assembly. And she said, you know, there were counting rooms down below the surface of the assembly site. And she'd say in the counting room, there would be huge barrels just full of cash. And the sisters, she and other sisters, maybe some brothers, would be sitting at these long tables counting wads and wads and wads of cash, barrel by barrel. And there would be brothers walking around, you know, making sure nobody pocketed any of the money. And some brother later near the end of the convention would come in and say, well, how much, you know, what's your total that you have so far? And I remember she said that they would tell the brother a certain amount. He said, okay, fine. And she'd say, but there's still 2, 3, 4 barrels full of money that we haven't counted. Oh, well, don't worry about that. Just tell me what you have now. And then they'd go out and announce the deficit thing. Like you said, it's a money-making con job. And they're not honest. Go ahead.
And this is Donald from Texas. Yeah, you know, that's what it all sounds like. I mean, they're raising all that money, but yet most Jehovah's Witnesses, well, I don't know about most, but a lot of them, individuals are struggling day by day, trying to pay their rent, trying to pay their electric bill, trying to buy groceries, trying to pay for medicine. And here's Watchtower getting all these wads and wads and wads and wads and wads of cash. Why can't they use that money to help the poor? Why do they have to pocket that themselves? Why do they need Ramapo? They don't need that fancy studio. They need to use that money to help people with what they need to do.
Yeah, but you know, it's that bottom line, Donald, and they do not want to take away from their bottom line. They want those Watchtower coffers overflowing with your money. And the way we know it's true is when they started guilting little children in the Sophia and Caleb videos, first when they went after their ice cream money, showing sweet little Sophia so happy with those 2 little quarters in her mind, looking forward to when she can go to the ice cream man and get an ice cream. And she's skipping to the ice cream truck. And then it all of a sudden comes to her head about the worldwide witnessing work. And she changes her mind, and it shows her next in the cleaning hall, putting her ice cream money in the contribution box. That's guilting children to donate their ice cream money. And then a few months later, they came out with another guilt little video of Caleb and Sophia reading about or watching a video about the worldwide witnessing work. And like, oh, we have a great idea. Let's go into our piggy bank and put together our allowance and send it to Watchtower. To go so far to create an emotionally manipulative video twice to get children to donate their quarters and dimes to Watchtower, on top of how they guilt the adults. It's like they want every dollar and dime they can possibly get because it adds up. And let people not forget, they have stockholders. Stockholders, many of these stockholders have nothing to do with the religion. They are all about the money, like any stockholders. We want our money. We want our money. And that's all it is. Go ahead.
Isn't Watchtower at least a $50 billion corporation?
We have heard of it. Is that high?
$50 billion. That's a lot.
Hello, Anne Marie.
Yes, who's this here?
Hi, this is Susan again. Rick and I have had numbers of conversations on this. Not all Jehovah's Witnesses are poor. And well, look at the Williams sisters, or Prince, or there's many other brothers that have businesses or are part of businesses. And in the congregation I was in, that we had brothers that were part of big corporations like Sears and different organizations like that. So they're not all poor. Not everyone's poor, but they want you to think everyone's poor, and that the Watchtower has no money, and we're depending on you poor brothers. You know, instead of going to the brothers that have the money, which they do anyway, but they want to hit everyone, the rich and the poor, no matter what. It makes you feel sorry for them. And when you feel sorry for them, then you'll donate.
When I was studying with the Jehovah's Witnesses back in the early 90s, my study conductor, or whatever you want to call the guy, he almost didn't want to bring me to the King Hall unless I brought my checkbook.
Oh my.
Yeah, and that was back then. You know, he was wanting me to. Of course, I brought it, and I gave whatever it was, or paid for whatever it was. I don't remember what it was I did, but all I know is I had to bring my checkbook, and it's like he was making a big deal out of it. But I'm glad I'm not in that religion. That is terrible. That's a terrible excuse for a religion, anyway. I mean,
well, we know religion's a snare and a racket.
Yeah.
They were right about that.
Yeah, they were right about that one, because it is. I mean, and with all them, every time I hear these videos with them claiming that they're the one and only true religion, I'm like, well, so do the Mormons. They say that. The Catholics say that. Everybody else says they're the true religion. So which one of you is really the true religion? Which one is it?
Well, Jesus said, feed them, clothe them, and heal them. So maybe that's the true one. Hollywood has two really great films, and you could probably just listen to the scripts of them too. One is called Leap of Faith with Steve Martin. It's quite the movie. And the other one made 40 years or 50 years before that is called Elmer Gantry. So if you're snowed in, check out Leap of Faith with Steve Martin or Elmer Gantry from the Golden Age of Hollywood. And they talk about religion and money and the whole thing.
Oh, wow. Yeah, we're not snowed in here in Beaumont, Texas. It's cold, but we got winter weather advisories here, but not going to get everything that everybody else is getting. We're going to get maybe some freezing rain, but that's about it.
Well, you got to make sure you stay as warm as you can. And, you know, I remember, you guys ever listen to George Carlin? He's dead now, but a great comedian. He been about religion and God, and he said, you know, it's funny, God must be really bad about managing money because he always needs your money. And, you know, if you think about it, it really makes sense, because way back when Russell was still running the organization, he had said in print, and I read it, he said, if, you know, we are God's organization, and if we ever get to the point where we need to ask for money, we'll know that God is not blessing our religion anymore, and we'll just quit. I remember reading that. Go ahead.
I have nothing wrong with the church, with people helping to support their church, as in keeping the lights on and paying for the building and stuff. But I have a problem with these TV preachers that want $40 million airplanes or whatever they want, you know, and like Kenneth Copeland wanting a $65 million airplane and garbage like that. And he's sitting up there, you know, just as wealthy as can be, and he doesn't care at all about anybody he gets his money from. He's all about it. He's just like Watchtower. He's all about the money. It's that's what they're about. It's about the money, and the Watchtower is the same way. They want that money, like you said. They want that dollar, and they'll do anything to get it. But if you read in the book of Revelation, all these rich people, they're going to be crying once this is all over, because they're going to say, oh, Babylon has fallen, you know, because they lost all their wealth and everything. So they're going to lose it.
And I hope I ain't disturbing y'all here. But I just want what Pixie and Donald saying is so true about Kenneth Copeland and how he's a charlatan and he's a big fraud, and money. It's obvious that it's his God.
Oh yeah.
Really? I even heard that Watchtower, the higher elite, a governing body, I heard that they had at least 2 private planes. I wouldn't be surprised if they had a jet. They drive around in fancy cars. If they fly commercial, they always go first class.
Yeah.
But they didn't give you money for a loaf of bread if you were starving in the street.
And I think the cars, I think they're driving gold-plated Rolls Royces.
Yeah, I know one of them has a Bentley.
I heard about that.
It's a mess. It's a true snare and a racket. And, you know, what Six Screens does, what Rick does every week is to expose them for what they are.
Expose that Watchtower for what it is.
I emailed Rick earlier this morning to ask him if he knew when that documentary that's supposed to come out, that Spanish company came in over the summer when y'all were up there at the convention. I was wondering when that was going to be released, because I would like to see it.
Well, I'm sure he'll have an answer for you. Maybe you can ask him sometime during the news.
Yeah, 'cause I wasn't up there for that. I was here, but you know, the only thing is it's supposed to be on Netflix, which I don't have I don't have Netflix, so I wonder if there's another way I could watch it somehow. But I really want to see that. 'Cause I want to see what you guys have said about Watchtower and stuff, and what other people have said, you know, about it.
All right.
I think Donald, you mean the witch tower.
The Witch Tower, yeah.
and that, as you're saying, they all talk. Anne Marie, she talks about the banquet of spiritual food, the banquet of petroleum oil dishes and snake venom wine.
Yeah. Well, it's like, hi. What's your name?
Oh, this is Thomas Hodgson from Lawrence, Kansas. How are you?
Oh, Thomas. What's up?
I just wanted to holler for a moment. Yeah, I just really was shocked at the extent the Watchtower can go to try to get somebody's estate or money. I guess, you know, we talked about that last week, as I recall, where they were trying to claim something from somebody that died they left the area like 60 years prior, and you know, they tried to claim their estate, and they didn't have a leg to stand on in court. But the extent that they go, it's just absolutely incredible.
Yeah, that was
I read it on the internet after.
That was a lady from Spain, sir. Yeah, I heard that. Yeah. Yeah, they can Watchtower. See what it is in Spain. When your family members die, they automatically get, I think, like a third of whatever your inheritance is. Each member of the family automatically gets, whether you want them to or not. It's just a part of the government. They that's what they do. Well, that lady, of course, left Spain and moved. She ended up moving to Canada, and she died, I think, in Ottawa. I think is where she died at. And Watchtower found out about that, and this was back last year. And they tried to get her inheritance, but they couldn't prove her death. They couldn't prove anything, and the court just threw it out because, you know, they knew what Watchtower is up to.
They are
such bullshit. Oh man! Oh my goodness gracious! Oh, it's unbelievable. And I think it was like, I can't remember. It seemed like it was several years ago when she died, but they still tried. Oh man, they'll do anything to get money in their hands. The money's their god. They just like worship it. It's the work of the devil all the way. We should be all so very glad that we escaped the shackles of this very disgusting, filthy, rotten organization. I don't feel good about them in one part of my life.
Yeah.
Hello, Marie.
Yes. What's your name? Is?
It's Maverick here from London. Maverick from London. Maverick.
How are you?
Hello. Nice to listen to everybody talking. You know what I was going to say? Why are we surprised, Anne Marie, with the way the organisation has been carrying on? It started with Rutherford back in the 30s. Look how much money I did a little calculation about how much money Rutherford. Let's go back to Rutherford and his 2 Cadillacs. His V16s, 16-cylinder Cadillacs. Apparently, in the 1933, they were worth $7,000. In today's money, that's $165,000 each, and he had 2 of them. So,
wow.
Why are we surprised? Why are we surprised? It's always been about money. They've fleeced the flock. So they're going to get it. They're going to get it. They're going to get it big time. God is not blind to it. They've just summed up. They just basically carried on like there's no punishment, no recourse, no answering to no one. They're going to get it. So that's what I wanted to say. I'm just so curious about how much money they've squandered and exploited and squeezed everything out of the poor people who were thought that they were supporting, spreading the word to the people so they won't die at Armageddon. That's the only reason why everybody contributed to the organization. They thought they were helping the actual, people to save their so-called lives, So, but they just used that as an excuse to live like they're Serim. Rutherford, he's the real starter of this Jehovah's Witness thing. It's his name on it. And yeah, that's what I wanted to say. I just thought, I couldn't believe like that. Who has money now, unless you're stinking rich, as they say, to be able to spend $165,000 on a car? Even in today's money, that is a huge amount of money to spend on a car. I mean, that's super rich money. And yet they were living like kings. They've always tried to live like kings and lord it over everybody. And so anybody who's in any doubt about the true intentions of this organization, they need to wear any PMOs or any people who are still trying to justify Watchtower and listening to this. Wake up, people, man. The proof is in the pudding. That's all I was going to say.
True. And Rutherford had 116, top of the line Rolls Royce. Remember, they were yellow, which was like real fashionable and were new in those days. What was that?
He had 2 movie star style, very expensive Cadillacs, when the average person in this country at that time in the Great Depression was lacking food. It was in the middle of the Dust Bowl that people thought you were rich if you made $12 a week. And look at the price of that car. Plus, at that time, Prohibition, a working man who did the agricultural work couldn't get a beer at the end of his day. And Rutherford was shipping in Canadian whiskey, but I recently found out he was shipping it in through the branch.
Oh, yeah. He had brothers. Noor was one of them, and Noor hated Rutherford for that. He would make Noor and some other brothers go into Canada, buy his whiskey, and bring it to him. The man was shameless. And as far as the Cadillacs, top of the line Cadillacs, he had one for the East Coast and one for the West Coast. And to see him posing next to his very expensive Cadillac like he was Mr. Big Stuff, what a lot of people don't know, like you said, Pixie, it was during the Great Depression when many people didn't even have food. They have cardboard in their shoes because they couldn't afford new shoes. And he's acting like he's Mr. Big Stuff with his fancy cars, raking in the money. And he didn't pay for those cars. It was the donations and the money he made off of the coal porters before they were called pioneers, because they would have to buy the literature and then pay back. Maybe they made an extra cent or 2 cents off of what they sold. And that's what those poor people lived on. A lot of brothers and sisters in those days didn't even have a home to live in. They were homeless. They had JW.
Sometimes they were in the car with a trailer.
Yeah.
And also, Ken Burns' Prohibition is a fun documentary. He really had fun with that one. But I don't think a lot of the younger people realize what Prohibition was about, where whiskey was destroyed in the streets. And, if a person needs a program of sobriety, great. Ken Burns shows you how there were so many saloons before that time. So there was good and bad in it. But the point with Rutherford was he had bootleg whiskey when Joe Average, after a hard day, could not get a beer. One beer.
True, Pixie.
And
so true.
Also his wife he tried to make it sound like she had mental illness. She was fine. He had a wife and son in New York. And after he died, she married again. So somebody liked her. But while he was trying to disown his wife and his own son in New York, he had 2 women at that Sarim. Now, I don't know if he rang once for Monday and twice for Tuesday or what he did, but he had 2 women there. and they were witness sisters, and they were supposed to be the secretary and the nutritionist or something like that. I guess that's Hollywood lingo for mistress. I don't know.
Yeah, and he traveled with a mistress who was supposedly his nurse.
Right.
We're going to have to wrap it up. Would anybody like to give a final thought, because we've gone a few minutes over time? Would you like to add to your comment, Pixie, or anyone else? Okay,
The whole story.
what was that, love? What did you say, Pixie?
I said most people don't know the whole and complete story. It's not just the abuses and the blood policy and the doctrine, but there's a lot of other things.
Oh, that is so true. Well said. Well, thank you. I want to thank all of my callers. I am so happy. It was a great show. Again, the theme for today's show, Touched by the Tentacles of the Watchtower, was Watchtower's attitude towards sex. Today's date is January 24, 2026, and I would love to thank, and I appreciate the callers. I appreciate and thank Keith and Pixie and RJ and our sister Susan and Realist and Matthew calling in from Cape Town, South Africa. We thank Rick for his contribution. We thank Stephen and Gilbert and Donald from Texas and Dallas, Thomas Hoskins. And lastly, I want to thank Maverick, who called in from London. It was a beautiful show. I thank you all. You callers make the show. God bless you all. Hopefully we'll see you in 2 weeks. And we need to go to our brother Rick and JW World News. Rick?
Well, thank you, Anne-Marie, very much. Lots of participation tonight. Lots of people coming in from all over the world. We had South Africa, London. Got a lot of people listening in on YouTube from all over the world as well. So we want to thank everyone, like you say, Anne-Marie, for coming in tonight. Well, don't go anywhere. We have got JW World News coming up next. We're going to let you know what's going on behind the curtains of the Watchtower. And as we all know, there's a lot going on. And the more we're out, the more we are finding out how scandalous this organization is. So by all means, stay with us. I've got something very special to share with you. We are doing about one AI video a week. We're trying to keep it very short so we can get attention. Hey, listen, one's time span on these different videos we're doing, people can't spend a lot of time these days. So we're keeping them very short, to the point, precise. I want you to see the newest one we have out. That's coming up next. That's on assembly and convention deficits. We all heard it, so by all means, stay with us. Now, don't go anywhere. We'll stay on this YouTube channel, stay on the Facebook channel, stay on our radio network, and we really appreciate all you coming into touch by the tentacles of the Watchtower tonight. Thank you for spending some time with us. Stay with us. We're going to end it right here, and we're going to go to our next